Welcome to Making with Molly, where today, I don't know what I'm making. How does this work, you ask? Basically, I'm just going to be choosing a random recipe from my great-grandmother's recipe box, and then I have to make it. So let's see how this thing goes. Okay, so here is my great-grandmother's recipe box. As you can see, it is jam-packed full of recipes. The first half is about only desserts. The first and the last bit are desserts. So I guess I'm just going to pick a random recipe from the dessert section, and then we'll make it. Okay. Let's see. What is this? Can you tell? Fresh strawberry coffee cake. Okay. I can make coffee cake. Okay, so I have never made this recipe before. But I've made a blueberry coffee cake, so it should be pretty similar, right? So let's see what this needs. 1 1/4 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of milk, 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of melted shortening, and 1 1/2 cups of, what does it say? Sliced? Yeah, that makes sense. Sliced strawberries. So 1 1/2 cups of sliced strawberries. Okay, let's bake this thing. Alright, this is the recipe we are working with. If you'd like to follow along, I will put it in the description box below. Alright, now let's begin. So the instructions say to sift flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt into a bowl. Add milk, egg, and butter until well blended. Spread in 9x9 pan, top with strawberries. Sprinkle with topping something, and then berries. I can't read this word. What does it say? I can't read that word. I don't know what it says. Anyway, bake at 375 for 40 minutes. Oh, okay. There's a recipe down here for toppings. The topping. So the topping is a 1/4 cup of butter, a 1/2 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of sugar, and then mix together and set aside. Wow, that would have been helpful if it was at the top. Okay. Let's do this then. First things first, preheat your oven to 375, then measure out and combine your ingredients for the topping. You'll need a 1/2 cup of sugar, a 1/2 cup of flour, and a 1/4 cup of butter. Then mix it all together and set it aside for later. This is how my topping is looking. I feel like I should have waited until the butter had warmed a bit more or was melted. So I'm just going to set that aside and then mix up again after I do the other things. Moving on, spray your 9x9 pan with cooking spray and then measure out your dry ingredients. You'll need 1 1/4 cup of flour, a 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Make sure you sift these dry ingredients really well because we don't want any lumps in our coffee cake. Before I mixed in the wet ingredients, I prepped my strawberries. Make sure you wash and dry your strawberries and then get to slicing. Here I sliced and diced my strawberries, but I found that it actually tasted a little better with the larger sections of strawberries, so I recommend just slicing them. Moving on to the wet ingredients, you'll need 2 tablespoons of melted shortening. For my shortening, I used 2 tablespoons of margarine, and I found that worked really well. Then add in your half cup of milk, 1 egg, and 2 tablespoons of melted shortening. Stir together until well blended. Here is what it looks like after the first mix. I think it should look like this. Yeah, that's fine. Pour your ingredients into the greased 9x9 pan. Then proceed to cover the top with your 1½ cups of sliced strawberries. After you've covered the surface with your strawberries, then add in your crumb topping. This is how mine looks before I put it in the oven. I just popped it into the preheated oven for 40 minutes or until it has a nice golden brown crust. 40 minutes later, this is the final result. You have a wonderful crisp topping and a fluffy strawberry coffee cake bottom. Alright, here we have it, the first official taste test. Oh, fingers crossed. That's actually pretty good. Wow. Right off the bat, I like the topping, the topping crust. It's a bit harder, which I like, and sweeter. You can taste it. It's good. The strawberries, really good. The bottom half of the cake, I think maybe I could have integrated more strawberries in it or something, because it's slightly missing something for me, but it's still really good. If anything, I think what's missing is I wish that I would have sliced my strawberries a bit bigger instead of diced it. I think that just would have been better for my personal preference. It also could be the bite that I had. But yeah, it's really good. I give it a thumbs up. Here, I'm gonna get a part with a bigger strawberry and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, I would have sliced the strawberries instead of dice it because it was too small. And there we have it for my first random recipe video. I am pretty pleased with how it turned out. I actually really liked it. The recipe was super easy and the ingredients super simple. I'm glad I had it easy for my first random video. The only thing that I would change is the butter for the topping. I would have that a bit more softened or melted. That will give you a much easier time to help mix it all together. And then I also would have sliced the strawberries a bit bigger. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you get to try it. Happy making!